Okay, here we go. Married at First Sight, Season 11, Episode 1. The story begins. Location, New Orleans. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know how I'm going to start this because there's just so much to talk about. So much to talk about. So, first of all, I want to say that Married at First Sight, I have a feeling that this show, it has gone completely off the rail. I don't remember watching, I don't think I watched season 1. I don't remember season 2, but it seems like it had a good premise, this whole matchmaking thing, but not matchmaking for dating, matchmaking for marriage. What some might call even like a prearranged marriage type of situation. It seemed like it had a really good premise. The show completely had us fooled in the beginning because we thought that these experts were doing some real hardcore scientific research in matching these people. Well, lately it just seems like they could just be using a roulette wheel or a spinning wheel and picking their couples and picking their matches. Just, spin the wheel and we'll see what it comes up with of who we need to put together, because these matches from last season and what it looks like for this season, these matches to me are horrendous. Now, last season was a complete crap show. It was good for ratings. It was good for, the money-making end of Married at First Sight. But as far as successful marriages, finding people who are truly compatible, they were combative, but finding people who were truly compatible with each other, helping people find true love, that was not it last season. Out of the 6 couples that they had, 5 or 6 couples, however many couples that they had, there was only one success. The rest were all complete and utter crap shows. It was almost like, it was damn near abusive when you think about how they put these people together. It was almost abusive. When you think about Wendy and the guy that she married, when you think about, it was just horrible. Anyways, that was last season. So here we go with season 11. I have no hope for the majority of these couples. Zero hope. Let's get started. I'm talking way too much. I just wanted to start off my video by saying that I don't think that these people really care about the producers. I don't think they really care about people finding love, long-lasting marriages, making an emotional connection. They don't care about that. They're just like, let's put some crazies together and watch the money roll in. Amelia and Bennett. Okay, so this is the quirky couple, quirky, artsy couple. Of course, on paper, they look like they're really good together because it seems like they have a lot in common. They're both artistic. They're both wild and crazy. They're both very unconventional, doing their own thing. Bennett is a theater artist, a writer, and a landscape helper. Amelia, she is very artistic, but she's also a doctor. I think she just graduated med school or passed her residency or something, but she's also a doctor. So she does have that really, conventional part of her, but her personality, her way of thinking, everything about her is just free-spirited, almost like a hippie. And so her and Bennett, on paper, when you look at them on the surface, yeah, they look like they're really good together. Bennett, to me, also seems to have like a really serious down-home side of him too. But they look like they could be a good match. I think on 2 separate occasions in 2 separate scenes, they both talked about how they wanted the same exact thing. For example, I think in one scene, Bennett had said it was either in this episode or in those pre-episodes that they show. He had said that he didn't mind being a stay-at-home husband and he didn't mind taking on his wife's last name. I remember him asking when the experts visited them. Yeah, it was the pre-episode when Dr. Pepper, I think it was Dr. Pepper, when she went to go visit him, he says, well, can I take on her last name? And I think it was Dr. Pepper that said, yeah, sure, there's nothing wrong with that. And Amelia mentions her husband taking on her last name. When she's sitting with her friends and they're joking about, when they're introduced as a married couple, it's going to be, Dr. Dr. and Mr. So-and-so. And then Amelia says something about, well, what if it's Dr. and Mr. and she says her own last name, whatever it is. So they're both okay with him taking on her last name. And they're both okay with the husband being a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home husband. They're both cool with that. So on paper, it seems like they're going to work out. I'll keep my fingers crossed with them. I hope it does work out. Then we go to Karen and Miles. Now, Karen is the one with the, I put big curls. She had beautiful, big, soft curls. She's an introvert, very reserved, very conservative. She was cheated on by her ex. He ended up having a whole entire child behind her back with another woman. So, she's dealing. I hope she had dealt with that. I hope she's come to terms with that. I hope that she was able to either get counseling or counsel herself or have the support of her friends and family to help her get through that, because she does not need to take that into this marriage. So her relatives, her mom especially, her mom gave me real Claire Huxtable vibes. But her mom, when she told her mom and her aunt and her friends and her friend at dinner that she got chosen or they matched her with someone, her mom was not having it. Her mom was like, "You're crazy. This whole thing is crazy. I don't agree with this. I don't understand why you're doing this." So her mom is not feeling it. Her mom seems like a very outspoken woman. She's one of those women that's very well put together, educated, very reserved, very like someone who knows how to use, the utensils at the dinner table. Someone who can carry on a conversation about anything and everything. Her mom just seems very, very much reminded me of Imani's mom on Married to Medicine, LA. Very put together. Like they're not going to show a lot of emotion or a lot of affection. Very intellectual, very cerebral. So her mom is not in agreement with this, but of course she's going to support her daughter because they go wedding dress shopping or wedding dress choosing. And so, her mom I could tell that when they were looking for wedding dresses, that her mom was really trying, like she was working really hard in trying to be supportive. When she gave her opinion on the different dresses, because she could have not come. She could have not come at all. Or she could have turned every single dress down. Or she could have not said anything at all. But she was trying to give some input on what she liked and what she didn't like. So she is trying to be supportive of her daughter's decision to be on this show. Then we go to Miles, who Karen was matched with. He's 26 years old. By the way, Karen is 30. Miles is 26. He's college educated. I think he said he had 2 degrees and working on a third. He had a big, huge Black Power flag in his living room, which I was really digging. His parents divorced when he was at a very young age, or they split up when he was at a very young age. And so the only example that he's had of a successful couple are his grandparents, who he seems to be very close with, because he was FaceTiming them when he was telling them that when it came time to announce that he got chosen, it was his grandparents that he told on FaceTime, or on FaceTime. And so his grandparents have been married for 50 years. And so he really looks up to them. He really admires them as a couple, and he really wants to emulate what they have. So he's very into being in a committed relationship. He wants to be in love. He wants to have a wife. He wants to be a husband. He wants a family. So it seems like he's really ready to do the whole commitment thing. And I just kind of hope that he's not someone who is just in love with the idea of love. That's all I'm hoping. Because there are some people who talk a good game about, I want to be married, and I want a wife, or I want a husband, and I want the white picket fence, and I'm just so ready to be committed, and this is what I really want. And then when it comes time to prove it, they're MIA. It's not what it seems. I hope he's not like that. I hope he's just not in love with the idea of love. So that's Karen and Miles. And there's a lot to say about them towards the end. Then we go to Olivia and Brett. Oh my God. Olivia is 30 years old. She's a nurse. Brett is 35 and he's in IT. So Olivia, She describes herself as 70 and sunny, which to me is like, yeah, 70 and sunny is a good day. But what's interesting about that? What's interesting about that? Some people would like to describe themselves as a tornado or a hurricane or, I don't know, a lazy, laid back kind of Sunday or something. But she says she's 70 and sunny. She likes cats. Her mom is worried about her being on Married at First Sight. I don't want to say being on Married at First Sight. Her mom is worried about her marrying a stranger, but she's going to support her. And another word that I used to describe Olivia, she's a little mousy. She's a bit mousy. And so I worry about Olivia because she's matched with Brett. Brett, 35 years old. When they described him as a serial dater, I was like, no. How dare they? How dare they put this guy on this show? He needs to be on one of those shows, Temptation Island, Love Island. He's more fitted for those where the women walk around in bikinis all day and they're on a beach resort and they just do silly, dumb things all day. That's where Brett needs to be. He does not need to be married on Married at First Sight if we are to believe that Married at First Sight is serious about helping people find true love in marriage. No. Serial dater. He's into physical fitness. He was engaged before, but he was cheated on. When he told his family that he was going to be on, that the experts had found a match for him, that he was going to get married, they were all like, no. And I want to say they were all not supporting this whole thing because they know he's not ready. I don't think this guy's ready. And I don't think he's ready for Olivia. Olivia is so quiet and just mousy and, so like librarian. She's so librarian type. And Brett is like a 35-year-old frat boy. That's how he comes across to me. But he does like cats. So that kind of gave me a tiny sliver of hope for them. I kind of get the sense that he's not ready for commitment. We'll talk about that later. So then we go to Imani, who is a program coordinator, 29 years old, and Woody, he's a teacher coach. Now, Woody and Miles are actually best friends. Woody came on the show to support Miles, but the experts ended up finding him someone too. And that completely threw me for a loop because I was like, so did he try out and he was on the show supporting his friend? Or like, did he sign up for the show as well? And they just happened to be two guys who signed up for the show. I don't remember how this went. Or was he just there to support his friend? And for whatever reason, the experts took it upon themselves to find him someone. Because if it's the latter, then how do they do all the research for him to figure out who he should be matched with? I don't understand that. But anyway, he's on the show with his friend Miles. Now, Woody to me is like a Brett. I don't think he's ready either to be in a committed relationship. When they both told their friends that they were matched, everybody was like, okay, Miles is definitely ready. Woody is definitely not ready. And they were just like blown away that Miles would even do something like this because it seems like he still has a lot of partying going on in him, that he's just not ready to settle down yet. And they match him with Imani, who is a very, she's 29 years old, but she's extremely mature. She's very well put together. She's very reserved. She just seems like she's too much woman for him. Like Woody, to me, he's 30 years old, but he seems like, he could still go for the 20-year-old girls who just want to have a good time. Imani, to me, seems like she's ready for... I would match Imani with like a business CEO, financial planner, accountant, banker type of guy. Someone who is in his 30s, mid-30s to early 40s. Like a really mature man. I would not match Imani with a Woody. I just wouldn't do that. Woody seems like he's just I think they called him life of the party. They described him as life of the party. Woody seems like someone who's just, a little bit on the young side, a little bit on the immature side probably, who just wants to have a good time. Imani, even though she's 29, I think she's, she's a lot older than what she seems. And she just seems so much more, but maybe there's a wild side to her. Maybe there is a side to her that is a good match for a Woody. Maybe, we just haven't seen it yet. But I just wouldn't have matched her with Woody. I think that's also disastrous. I don't think this is going to work either. Then we have Christina and Henry. I didn't like Christina. I didn't like her at all. I didn't see anything likable about Christina. She never met her dad. She was raised by her mother, and she's a flight attendant, 30 years old. Henry is a recruiter, 34 years old. Henry also, oh my God, I think Henry is also, I don't think these people are ready. I don't think these people are ready for marriage. I don't think they're ready for what this show has to offer. I don't think they're ready. I don't think Christina and Henry are a good match. I think they might have a lot of baggage. Okay, so maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't matter. But I think it might have had a factor in her life that she's never met her dad. But maybe she also has a really strong male influence in her life. Maybe she has a grandfather that was like a father figure, or an uncle or a stepfather or something like that was a father figure for her. She says that no one has ever given her flowers except for her grandfather, and she wants someone to give her flowers. So on the surface, that seems really sweet and, heart-wrenching, and like, oh, no one's ever given you flowers, and all you want is someone just to, do something really sweet for you by giving you flowers. But then she goes into this whole thing where if someone were to give her flowers, she must have exotic flowers, not just roses. So it's not really about the thought behind giving a woman flowers that you long for. It's like now you're staging how it should be, what kind of flowers, how he should present them, what he should be wearing when he's presenting you the flowers. So that kind of threw me off. So I was like, okay, I'm not understanding here. I thought you just wanted someone to do something very sweet for you. And, the thought of a man giving a woman flowers, presents a certain idea of, romance and love and affection. Now you're like, well, it needs to be, the flowers have to be exotic flowers. I will not be accepting any roses. I'm just like, wow. And then at The Bachelor, let's go ahead into, one more thing about them. Henry used to be a little bit chubbier. He lost a lot of weight. This is what got me. This is what worried me, is when he said, I lost a lot of weight, but I didn't gain any confidence, and I have no confidence in myself. And he's matched with Christina, and Christina seems to be a little high maintenance, demanding, has high expectations. And I don't know if Christina is going to have the patience to deal with someone who doesn't have any confidence in themselves. So Henry basically said straight up, hey, I don't have any confidence in myself. And throughout the show, there was always these remarks being made about his low confidence. Like, why would you put a person like this on the show? We all have flaws. And even if we go through therapy and we go through counseling, we're still going to have our flaws and our shortcomings. But some people are at a point in their life where I feel like they can sort of deal with these flaws and shortcomings. They kind of have figured out how to relate to the rest of the world with their flaws and shortcomings. Either they've just been paying attention to life's lessons, or they have really good therapy, or they have a really good support system. I don't think Henry is at a point where he's ready to be someone's husband and to commit his life to someone when he needs to deal with himself first. I think he has some issues to deal with himself, because he just basically came out and said, I have no confidence in myself. So him and Christina, that's going to be interesting. Maybe Christina will be the kind of woman to bring out that confidence in him. So the guys all meet, and I didn't pay too much attention to this scene. I don't know what I was doing, but I didn't pay too much attention to this scene. But the guys all end up meeting, and they discover, everyone else discovers that Woody and Miles are actually friends. And then, the other guys are like, oh, I wish I had a best friend that came on the show. Everybody discovers that Bennett is living in his own world. You know, he still has a flip phone. And Miles thought that that was so cute that Bennett still had a flip phone. Now, the thing about Bennett, because he's so quirky and because he's so like living on the fringe of convention, you would kind of dismiss him as not really being with it, but Bennett is with it. Bennett is extremely observant. I like people who, when they are around other people, they're very quiet because they're listening and they're watching and they're paying attention. And Bennett is that kind of person. So I like the fact that, you know, Bennett has shown me that he's got it going on upstairs. You know, he's very aware of what's going on. He's not, because you would think, oh, this guy still has a flip phone and, you know, he's da da da. He doesn't know what's going on, but he knows exactly what's going on because he figured everybody out to a T. So, so the guys all meet, and then they have a conversation about, well, what if you're not attracted to your wife when you first see her? Now, Brett, the serial dater, he was just like, well, if there's no attraction and if there's no spark, and within the first 5 seconds of me looking at her, it's a wrap. It's a done deal for me. I'm not with it. And I'm just like, how immature. How extremely immature. And Woody was of the same mindset too. He was like, well, if there's no attraction. But Woody did say, well, what if you have a conversation? And Bennett was, he noticed this as well. What if you have a conversation with her and the conversation is good and y'all are vibing on an intellectual level? And Brett was just like, if I'm not attracted to her, none of that matters. So Brett, I mean, it's like this show went out of its way to find people who were the least ready to get married because they just want a crap show for ratings. That's what it seems like to me. They're just like, we're just going to pick some random people and we're going to make sure that they're completely incompatible with any other human being, and we're going to put them on the show because this is going to be, you know, a real... I just don't understand. I don't get it at all. I mean, I get it because you want to make money, you want views for money, but at the same time, these people are married. They're going to be legally married, you know, as they can say 1,000 times in every single episode. They're in a legally binding marriage, and the only way out is divorce. And we saw what happened with Taylor last season, and I forgot her husband's name. With Taylor and her husband, I mean, the way that these people were treating each other, it was abusive on the show's part to put people like this together because they were so abusive to each other. Like, why would you do that? Why would you put people together that are just going to hurt each other just for ratings? And I feel like that's what, and I hope I'm wrong. All of these love stories could be, you know, could end up being completely beautiful. We can have happy endings for everybody, which is what I'm hoping for, because I don't want this show to be that fake where it's just for views, it's just for popularity, it's just for money. You know, I like the idea of matching people up. Now, I will say this before I go on with the show. I personally do not believe in any kind of scientific method in putting people together. I don't think that there's a formula. I don't think that there's a study. I don't think that there's a method in putting together people who are going to fall in love and be married for the rest of their lives. I don't think that there is such a thing. I think that when it comes to issues of the heart, of the soul, of the mind, there's no science to that. It's just whatever it is. You just have to have two people who are willing to make it work, who just have a mindset of, we're going to make it work. I'm going to do my best and you're going to do your best to make this relationship successful and to make this work. And you have to make a conscious effort to make it work. Now, the premise of the show, I like it. If we're going to believe that, you know, these people are good for each other for whatever reason, whatever research they did on the people, whatever calculations they entered into a computer to find out if they were compatible, whatever it is, because if it was done correctly, then the people would know that if I want to be with you, I'm going to make it work. But anyways, I'm going on. I just wanted to say that I don't believe that there's a formula or that you can do research on people and say, oh, Greg and Mary will make a great couple together because the research shows and the science shows and the numbers show. I don't believe in that. I think that it's just, if there's something there that draws two people together. What's going to make it work is the two people wanting to make it work, is the two people involved doing what it takes to make it work. That's all I have to say about that. So the bachelor parties were cringy. The bachelor and bachelorette parties are extremely cringy. I kind of look at them like this, barely through one eye. I can't just full on look at the whole entire scene of the bachelor and because it's just so cringy. No one's comfortable. Everybody is awkward as hell. The only people that are remotely comfortable are the strippers or the dancers, because they're getting paid to be there. But it's just so awkward. But anyways, at the bachelor party, the only thing that I wanted to say about that was it was cute to see Bennett kind of get down and get loose with the strippers. That was good. And also Brett. First of all, when the guys had all met and they were out at dinner having drinks or something, he flirted with the waitress. Then at the bachelor party, he flirted with one of Henry's friends. So they were all sitting on a couch. It was Henry, a friend, two female friends, and then Brett. So Brett comes and sits down next to the girl, and he just immediately starts like coming on to her, asking her how come her and Henry never hooked up. Like, who does that? Why? And just like being really cheesy and corny. It was like watching some 80s television show of some cheesy guy with the button open all the way down to here, showing chest hair and gold chains, trying to pick up some lady at a bar. And the girl wasn't having it. I mean, she got up and left. She was like, this is not about me. You're on this show. This is about you. So I'm out. And she gets up and she leaves. The girlfriend leaves with her. And then Henry leaves with them. And that leaves Brett. And I'm like, y'all, this is what we have to look forward to this season? This clown? And he's hooked up with little mousy Olivia? This is what we have to look forward to this season. I don't think that I am emotionally capable of watching this season for so many reasons, which leads, okay, it's the bachelorette party. Christina wasn't feeling the bachelorette party at all. She was so above it all. She was like sometimes I feel like you need to just kind of loosen up. This might not be your scene, but for whatever reason, you have to be there. Now, you don't have to be all up in the mix with, twerking and getting down and, wrapping your arms and legs around the stripper and, laying on the floor. You don't have to do all of that, but you kind of have to kind of get along a little bit. And she just was like, I'm out of here. And she went into the backyard, and with her and one of her friends came out, and she was just sitting out there in the backyard because she just was like, this is not my scene. I don't like this. I don't want to be here. And I'm just like, why do you people sign up for these things? And then when you get there, you're just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. I don't like this and I don't like that. I know I'm not into that stuff. I will never sign up for a show like this. Number one, I'm married, and I just wouldn't sign up for a show like this. Because I don't want to do all those things. I don't want to I don't want to have to go to a bachelorette party. I don't want to do any of that stuff. But evidently you do, Christina, because you signed up for this show. You know there's going to be a bachelorette scene. So why don't you just kind of sit down with the rest of the people and put on a smile and just be nice? Anyways, so Christina wasn't having any of that. So now let me just talk about the end. The first people to get married are Karen and Miles. Now, Karen, I don't know why, but even when her and the girls first met and they were all having drinks for the first time together, the girls were like, oh, are you going to be a runaway bride? Because I guess she was having a lot of second thoughts about going through with the process, because I don't know if it's her mom influencing her or she was just getting cold feet. I don't know. But she was having, having a lot of trepidation about going through with this whole process. So the morning of her wedding, she gets up, she gets ready. At some point, you see her kind of go off with one of the producers, and it's like, oh, what's happening here? Does she, are the nerves that bad? So she goes off with one of the producers, but their mics are on, so you can hear the whole conversation. And she tells the producer that she received a text. She doesn't say from who, but she receives a text telling her who her husband-to-be is. They give her the name, they give her the occupation, they tell her, she says that she knows who he is. And the producer was like, do you know his last name? As in, are you sure it's the same Miles that's on the show? And she's like, yes, because I've seen his Instagram stories, and he's just so emotional. He's so emotional. He's always talking about his feelings, and he's just not my type. This is not my type. Number one, who sent you this text? I hope we find that out later. Number two, how well do you really know him? Is it just from Instagram? Because, everybody fakes it on the gram, as they say. How do you know? Do you know him? Or do they send you his Instagram stories? I don't understand. I'm confused. At first, I thought she actually knew him in real life. Like they had met before. Then I thought maybe someone sent her all of his information, a link to his Instagram, and she looked at everything and she was just like, oh God, this is not my type. But she really doesn't know him in real life. It's just that this person ended up giving her all of this information before she walked down the aisle. Now, if that's the case, then she needs to go through with it because she doesn't really know him. Okay, so on the Instagram, he's emotional. So what? Who cares? People are one way on social media and they could be a whole nother way in real life. Now, yes, I have to admit, he does come across as someone who could be very emotional because he loves love. So maybe he is emotional. I don't know. But she was crying. She was emotional. She was having a real breakdown. Like, I know this guy and I'm just not attracted. Oh, no, she doesn't say I'm not attracted. She says he's not my type. He's just not my type. So that's where the show ended. She never came out of the closet with the producer. So, of course, they've got us hooked. Now they've got me hooked. If I had any intention of not going through with this, now I'm hooked because I'm curious as hell on what the hell is going on with Karen and Miles. But I felt like between all the people on the show, I thought Karen and Miles also had hope, along with the quirky couple, Bennett and whatever her name is. I thought that they kind of had hope, and I do feel like Karen and Miles had hope. I didn't have any hope in anybody else. I don't think it's going to work out with anybody else. But now I'm hooked. I'm probably going to be looking at this whole season, kind of like, because it's very uncomfortable for me to see people who don't get along, trying to make it work, because that awkwardness just kind of seeps through my television screen and it hits me. But I think I'm here for it. We'll see. But that's all I had to say. It was a good first episode. They got me hooked. And I'll be back with episode 2. Bye.